She said, "I've got other guys." I replied, "Then they can cover the bills too." That same night, I took my name off everything, canceled the accounts in her name, packed up, and moved out. I watched her so-called backup plans fall apart, and I just smiled, knowing she was about to find out what life really costs without me. I'm Marcus, 32. I work as a senior account manager for a regional insurance firm in Dallas. It's not glamorous, but it pays well. I'm structured. I track expenses, I invest regularly, I don't miss payments. I grew up watching my dad juggle 3 jobs, so stability matters to me more than appearances. My girlfriend, Vanessa, is 28. We've been together for 3 years. For the last 18 months, we lived together in a 2-bedroom apartment downtown. The lease was in both our names, but most of the financial weight wasn't evenly distributed. I paid the rent. I paid utilities. I paid internet. I covered most of the groceries. She worked in event marketing, which meant her income fluctuated. Some months were strong. Some weren't. In the beginning, I didn't mind helping more. We were building something together, or so I thought. Vanessa liked attention. She thrived on it. Social media, group brunches, constant validation loops with her friends. If someone complimented her outfit, that story stayed up for 24 hours. If someone didn't text back fast enough, it became a full analysis session in our living room. For a long time, I thought it was harmless. But over the past 6 months, something shifted. She started mentioning other men casually. Not directly threatening, just sprinkled into conversation. This guy at work said I should be charging more for my time. My old college friend keeps saying he'd treat me like a queen. It wasn't insecurity at first. It was pattern recognition. The comments increased every time we argued about money. Because yes, we argued about money. I asked her twice this year to contribute more consistently toward rent. Nothing unreasonable, just predictability. She'd agree in the moment, then forget when the transfer date came. Last Friday night was the tipping point. We were in the kitchen arguing about bills again. The rent had just renewed at a higher rate. I told her we needed to split it more evenly going forward. She rolled her eyes and said something that made the room go quiet. "You're acting replaceable." I didn't react immediately. I just looked at her. "Excuse me?" She crossed her arms. "I've got other guys, Marcus. Don't think I don't." It wasn't loud. It wasn't a scream. It was delivered calmly, meant to land. I studied her face. Then I replied just as calmly. "Then they can cover the bills too." And that's when everything changed. She blinked like she didn't expect that answer. "What did you just say?" I repeated it. "If you've got other guys, then they can cover the bills too." She let out this short laugh. The kind that's not amused, just irritated. "Wow. So now you're jealous." This wasn't jealousy. It was math. I leaned against the counter and kept my tone even. "You just implied you have backup options. I'm saying if those options are so solid, they can share the financial load." Her expression shifted from smug to defensive. "You're twisting it." I didn't mean they'd actually pay for anything. "So what did you mean?" She hesitated. "I meant I'm not stuck. I have choices." That part one believed. She always needed leverage in arguments. Emotional leverage. Social leverage. Now apparently financial leverage. But here's the thing. If someone tries to position themselves as optional, you can't keep acting like they're essential. I nodded slowly. "Okay. Okay, what?" "Okay. You're not stuck." She stared at me like I was supposed to escalate, raise my voice, defend my value. Instead, I walked to my office desk and opened my laptop. "What are you doing?" "Reviewing our accounts." She rolled her eyes again. "You're being dramatic." "No, I'm being consistent." Over the next 30 minutes, I logged into everything. Electricity account. In my name. Internet. In my name. Streaming services. In my name. The joint credit card I added her to 2 years ago. Authorized user under my primary account. I didn't announce each click. I just started making changes. "You're not serious," she said from the doorway. "You just told me you have other guys. I'm assuming that means you don't need me financially." That's not what I said. It's what it implied. I removed her as an authorized user first. Then I scheduled service cancellations effective in 2 weeks. That gave her time to set up her own utilities if she chose to stay. "What are you doing with the Wi-Fi?" she asked sharply. "Transferring it out of my name." "You can't just do that." "Yes, I can. It's my account." Her tone shifted again. "You're punishing me." "No, I'm stepping back." Silence filled the room. Because this wasn't a bluff. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't threatening. I was adjusting my financial exposure. And that same night, while she was still standing there waiting for me to back down, I booked a short-term rental across town. She thought she had leverage. She didn't realize she had just removed it. She didn't believe me until I started packing. At first, she hovered near the bedroom doorway like this was still part of the argument stage. Like eventually I'd slam a drawer shut and say something dramatic she could respond to. Instead, I pulled a suitcase from the closet and laid it flat on the bed. "You're seriously leaving over a comment?" she asked. "Not over a comment. Over what it represents." "Oh my God, you're so sensitive." That word didn't bother me. It clarified things. I folded my clothes neatly. Not angrily. Not rushed. Just methodical. "You don't get to threaten replacement and still expect partnership," I said calmly. "I wasn't threatening you. You said you have other guys. That doesn't mean I'd actually use them. That's not the point." She crossed her arms again. "You're overreacting because I don't depend on you. Dependence isn't the goal. Respect is." That landed, but she deflected. "You think you're so important because you pay for stuff." "No. I think I'm important because I show up consistently." Silence. I finished packing the first suitcase and moved to the second. She followed me into the living room. "So what? You're just going to abandon the apartment? The lease has both our names. You're welcome to stay. You'll just need to handle your half." Her face shifted at that. "Handle my half?" "Yes. Rent increases next month. Utilities transfer out in 2 weeks. Internet too. You can't just dump that on me." "I didn't dump it. I've been covering most of it." She laughed again, but it sounded thinner now. "You're bluffing. You'll cool off in a day." I didn't respond. Instead, I walked to the kitchen and removed my card from the grocery delivery app. Then I canceled the shared meal kit subscription. "What are you doing now?" "Removing my name from recurring expenses." "You're being petty." "No, I'm being precise." That's when I saw it register. This wasn't emotional retaliation. It was logistical separation. And logistical separation doesn't reverse easily. By midnight, my car was loaded. She stood by the door like she was waiting for one last line. Something cinematic. Instead, I picked up my keys. If those other guys are solid options, they'll step in. If not, I guess we'll both learn something. And I walked out. She didn't follow. But I could feel the confidence cracking behind me. I didn't drive around aimlessly. I went straight to the short-term rental I'd booked. 1 bedroom. Clean. Fully furnished. No emotional history attached to the walls. When I locked the door behind me, I felt something I didn't expect. Relief. Not anger. Not heartbreak. Relief. I set my suitcase down, plugged in my phone, and turned off notifications for the night. I didn't block her yet. I wanted to see what would happen when reality set in. It didn't take long. Around 8:30 the next morning, my phone lit up. "Vanessa, are you seriously not coming back?" I waited 10 minutes before responding. "Marcus, I moved out." Immediately, 3 dots appeared. "Vanessa, so you're just giving up?" "Marcus, I'm adjusting to what you said." "Vanessa, you're so dramatic." "Marcus, you said you have other guys." "Vanessa, that doesn't mean I want you gone." There it was. Leverage attempt. I replied calmly. "Marcus, then don't use replacement as a bargaining chip." No response for a full hour. Then, "Vanessa, the electricity bill just hit. Why did you remove autopay?" "Marcus, because it's in my name." "Vanessa, so what am I supposed to do?" "Marcus, set it up under yours." That's when the tone changed. "Vanessa, you know I don't have that kind of cash right now." "Marcus, that's why we were talking about splitting things evenly." Silence. An hour later, another message. "Vanessa, the internet company says service ends in 10 days. You didn't tell me that." "Marcus, you were in the room." She sent a voice memo after that. I didn't open it. Text keeps things factual. By afternoon, she tried a new angle. "Vanessa, I was just trying to remind you I have options. You're acting like I cheated." "Marcus, you don't have to cheat to show disrespect." That one sat unread for almost 20 minutes. Then came the message that told me the shift had started. "Vanessa, my friend Tyler said you're insecure for reacting like this." "Marcus, Tyler can cover the bills too." No response. Because here's the part she didn't calculate. Options sound impressive in conversation. They sound different when rent is due. And by that evening, I got the notification that the joint card balance had dropped to 0. Because I had frozen it. Backup plans don't usually come with billing statements. And she was about to find that out the hard way. By the 3rd day, the tone of her messages shifted from defensive to frantic. "Vanessa, the leasing office called. They said if one of us leaves, the remaining tenant has to requalify income." "Marcus, that's correct." "Vanessa, you didn't tell me that." "Marcus, it's in the lease agreement." There was a long pause. Then, "Vanessa, I can't qualify alone." That wasn't new information to me. We had gone over the lease numbers when we renewed. I had qualified us both. She had contributed inconsistently, but liked the lifestyle. Vanessa, so what am I supposed to do? Marcus, you have other guys. That message sat unread for almost 30 minutes. When she responded, the edge was gone. Vanessa, you're being cruel now. Marcus, I'm being literal. A few hours later, she tried calling. I let it ring. Then she called again. Then again. I declined all three. A text followed. Vanessa, stop ignoring me. We need to talk like adults. Marcus, we are. Through text. Vanessa, this isn't funny anymore. Marcus, it wasn't funny when you said it. Silence. That night, around 10:15 p.m., another message came through. Vanessa, Tyler says he can't help with rent. He has his own place. I stared at the screen for a second. Marcus, I'm sure he does. Vanessa, why are you acting like this? Marcus, acting like what? Vanessa, like you don't care. That was the part she couldn't accept. I cared enough to stop being leverage. The next morning, I woke up to 12 missed calls and 4 paragraphs waiting in my inbox. Long emotional swings. Accusations. Please. Then back to insults. You're insecure. You're selfish. You're throwing away 3 years. You'll regret this. I read them once. Then I made the final adjustment. I blocked her number, blocked her email, removed her from social media. Not out of spite, out of completion. If someone positions you as replaceable, you don't argue your value. You remove access. By noon, I received a call from an unknown number. I let it ring. Voicemail came in. Her voice. Marcus, don't do this. I didn't mean it like that. Call me back. I deleted it. Because this wasn't about winning. It was about consequence. And for the first time, she didn't control the direction of the conversation. Because there wasn't one anymore. After I blocked her, the noise stopped. At least directly. No more paragraphs. No more emotional swings. No more late-night accusations disguised as vulnerability. The unknown numbers started the next morning. One at 8:12 a.m. Another at 9:47 a.m. 2 more around lunch. I didn't answer. I didn't decline them either. I let them ring out. No reaction. No acknowledgement. If a number wasn't saved in my phone, it didn't exist. By afternoon, she tried emailing from what looked like a new account. It went straight to spam. I didn't open it. I had already made the decision. If someone wants to discuss stability, they don't threaten it first. That evening, I got a text from Josh. Bro, is everything okay? Vanessa just posted something about betrayal. I kept it simple. We broke up. It's handled. He didn't press. Apparently, she had started venting publicly now. Not directly naming me, but heavily implying that I abandoned her without warning. Here's what she didn't mention in those posts. That she told me she had other guys. That she used replacement as leverage. That I had been covering most of the financial weight for over a year. Stories are easier to tell when you remove the billing statements. 2 days later, the leasing office called me. Just confirming you vacated, they said. Vanessa asked about breaking the lease early. I kept my voice neutral. What are her options? They explained the early termination fee. 2 months rent plus penalties. I thanked them and hung up. That evening, I saw through mutual chatter that she had reached out to at least 3 different guys asking if they knew anyone looking for a roommate. Backup plans rarely include co-signers. The unknown numbers kept calling for a few days. I didn't answer. No voicemails anymore. Because once someone realizes you won't engage, the urgency fades. A week later, I ran into one of her friends at the gym. She looked uncomfortable. Vanessa's kind of stressed, she said carefully. She didn't expect you to actually leave. I nodded. That was clear. She thought you'd cool off. I didn't reply to that. Because cooling off only works if you were heated. I wasn't. I was finished. And there's a difference. About 10 days after I moved out, the financial reality started surfacing publicly. Not through her. Through logistics. The leasing office emailed both of us about the pending rent. She hadn't paid her portion. Late fee notice attached. I didn't respond. My portion had already been covered through the final month I committed to before leaving. After that, it was on her. An unknown number called that afternoon. I let it ring. 5 minutes later, another unknown number. Ignored. Then a text from a mutual friend, Carla. Hey, Vanessa asked if I could talk to you. I replied once. No. Carla sent back a neutral emoji and didn't push. That told me enough. If Vanessa had strong backup, she wouldn't be sending messengers. By the end of that week, I heard through Josh that she'd tried asking Tyler again for help. Apparently, he offered advice. Not money. Options are plentiful when nothing costs anything. They thin out quickly when rent is due. I wasn't stalking updates. But when your social circles overlap, even slightly, information floats. She'd listed the apartment as looking for a roommate. 3 interviews. 2 backed out after seeing the rent. The third asked about splitting utilities. Utilities she now had to transfer fully into her name. Electricity deposit. Internet setup fee. Water reconnection. Life adds up quietly. I stayed focused on my own routine. Work had picked up. I picked up 2 new accounts. Stayed late one evening finalizing a contract and realized something. For the first time in a year, I wasn't calculating someone else's spending habits against my budget. I wasn't wondering if rent would clear on time. I wasn't adjusting groceries because someone forgot their transfer. Peace isn't loud. It's subtraction. The unknown numbers stopped after about 2 weeks. That told me something too. When there's no reaction, there's no game. Friday night, Josh and I grabbed dinner. He looked at me across the table. You don't seem angry at all. I'm not. You don't feel bad? I considered it. I feel informed. Informed that threats of replacement come from insecurity. Informed that leverage collapses when you remove yourself. Informed that if someone truly has options, they don't announce them during rent discussions. He laughed at that. Fair. Later that night, I checked my bank account. Everything steady. Everything predictable. And for the first time since that kitchen argument, I smiled. Not because she was struggling, but because I wasn't. About 3 weeks after I moved out, I got an email from the leasing office again. Subject: Notice of lease status. I opened it out of practicality, not curiosity. Vanessa had officially requested early termination. The penalty was confirmed. 2 months rent plus fees. The total number was not small. They needed both tenants to acknowledge the adjustment. I replied once. I vacated on X date. I am not renewing or extending. That was it. An hour later, an unknown number called. I didn't answer. No voicemail. Then another unknown number. Ignored. 10 minutes later, Josh texted. She's panicking. I didn't respond immediately. Apparently, she'd been telling people I left her with nothing. That I blindsided her. That I refused to talk. What she wasn't telling them was that she triggered the separation herself. She had said she had other guys. She had positioned me as optional. Optional means removable. That weekend, I heard from Carlo again. She didn't try to mediate this time. She just said, Vanessa thought Tyler might co-sign the early termination fee. He said no. That made sense. People enjoy being backup options when it's theoretical, less so when it involves paperwork. I didn't celebrate that, but I understood it. Backup plans don't come with financial commitment. On Monday morning, I received one final unknown call. I let it ring. Then silence. No follow-up. No new numbers. By midweek, I learned she had moved out of the apartment entirely. Found a smaller place across town. Studio. Older building. No balcony. No skyline view. There's nothing wrong with the studio. But it wasn't the lifestyle she'd grown used to. And lifestyle is easy to maintain when someone else absorbs the volatility. That night, I sat in my short-term rental reviewing my finances. I'd already started apartment hunting again. This time alone. No fluctuating contributions. No conversations about who forgot what. Just numbers. Clear ones. I thought back to that kitchen argument. You're acting replaceable. No, I was acting consistent. And consistency is expensive when you lose it. She thought leverage would keep me in place. Instead, it revealed how much of the structure was mine. And when I removed it, the rest collapsed under its own weight. A month after I moved out, the dust finally settled. No more unknown calls. No more indirect messages through friends. No more dramatic social media captions about betrayal and loyalty. Just quiet. I had moved into a new apartment by then. 1 bedroom. Clean lines. Slightly smaller than the old place, but entirely mine. The lease had 1 name on it. The utilities had 1 name. The grocery bill had 1 card. Predictability feels different when it's not shared with someone who treats it as optional. Through mutual chatter, I heard Vanessa had officially paid the early termination fee. Not all at once. In installments. Apparently, her parents had stepped in to help with part of it. Tyler did not. Neither did any of the other so-called options. Because options are abundant in theory. Scarce in responsibility. I ran into Carlo again at a coffee shop one afternoon. She hesitated before speaking. She didn't think you'd actually follow through, she said. That part one knew. She thought saying she had other guys would scare you into stepping up more. Into paying more. Into chasing harder. I stirred my coffee slowly. Threatening replacement is a gamble, I said. Sometimes it removes the person you're trying to control. Carla nodded. She keeps saying you changed. I didn't argue that. I did change. I stopped negotiating my value in reaction to someone else's insecurity. That night, I thought about the moment in the kitchen again. I've got other guys. She expected jealousy. She expected insecurity. She expected competition. What she got was subtraction. Then they can cover the bills too. That wasn't spite. It was symmetry. If I was replaceable, so were my contributions. The last thing I heard was that she downsized her lifestyle significantly. Cut back on trips. Cut back on restaurants. Less rooftop brunch content. Reality isn't dramatic. It's incremental. Rent due. Utilities due. Deposits required. Fees assessed. Life really costs something when you're the one signing. I didn't smile because she struggled. I smiled because I didn't. And because I finally understood something simple. When someone tries to remind you they have options, don't compete. Step aside. Let the options prove themselves. About 6 weeks after I moved out, I got the final confirmation email from the leasing office. The early termination was complete. Balance settled. My name officially cleared from the property. No shared liability. No lingering attachment. Just clean closure. That same week, I ran into Josh again at dinner. He looked at me carefully and said something simple. You handled that differently than most guys would have. I shrugged. Most guys try to win arguments. I just adjusted the math. Because that's what it really came down to. When Vanessa said she had other guys, she thought she was introducing competition. What she actually introduced was optionality. And optionality cuts both ways. If I'm optional, then so is my rent contribution. If I'm optional, then so is my credit history attached to your lease. If I'm optional, then so is my consistency. You can't threaten replacement and expect permanence. A week later, I heard through Carla that Vanessa had moved into a smaller studio permanently. She'd picked up more shifts. Apparently, she'd stopped talking about other guys entirely. Reality doesn't argue. It invoices. And when the invoices start coming in your name alone, the tone changes. I didn't celebrate it. I didn't reach out. I didn't send any last word text. I didn't need one. The last thing I heard was that she told someone, I didn't think he'd actually leave. That was the part that stuck with me. She didn't think I would actually leave. Not because she loved me too much to lose, but because she thought leverage would hold. That night in the kitchen, she expected insecurity. Instead, she got accountability. Then they can cover the bills too. It wasn't a threat. It was a boundary. I learned something through all of it. When someone reminds you they have options, don't argue for your place. Let them test those options. If they're real, they'll hold. If they're not, the collapse won't be your fault. I didn't walk away angry. I walked away informed. And sometimes, that's worth more than any argument you could win.
Like that. You want a controllable populace by and large. And I think that is a big reason why people don't talk about money. It's actually that we have been programmed to be more malleable sheep in many ways, not because people are evil at the top, but because once we get power, we humans are a little funny. We don't like to give it up. No matter who we are, I would probably be the same. And so that centralization of power, we start to think, I know better. You poor person, let me give you some charity. You can't figure it out. And instead, we should be saying, you are just as capable as I am, and I would probably be you if I lived your life. And so instead, why don't I transfer some knowledge, because that's where money starts.
Yeah. What about people right now who are looking at the situation and just like, the economy's in a bad place, we're super worried. Paint us a picture of where America is right now.
Well, let's talk first. We'll talk about how it's tough, and I'll be honest, and then we can talk about solutions. So I promise I won't leave you in a doom scroll. But here's the truth of what's happening in the world right now. If you're young people today are upset about what's happening in the world around them, and I understand why. You have wage stagnation. So we basically have not made any